Hello again. Welcome back. I've got to remember what it was I was doing in here. Um, so, most likely I need a chest. That's what I actually need. So today I thought I would talk about the sort of never-ending news cycle that we live in. Because as I'm recording this, I'm honestly at a point where I feel like I can't hardly listen to my regular news podcasts because it just feels like an endless onslaught of mostly meaningless things. Like there's some stuff happening right now, but it's the very, very beginning of the Trump administration. It's the very, very beginning of. I'm actually gonna want to wear that. It's the very, very beginning of a lot of different things going on, and like it feels like every time I'm trying to tune in, it's Trump said something about this and that caused this to happen, and maybe it's causing it to happen, and maybe it's yeah, maybe that will cause this, maybe that will be bad, or maybe it will do this, maybe that will be good, and I just end up feeling very exhausted by it all. It seems rather like things that we shouldn't necessarily be commenting on. Like there's just so much talk happening all the time. You have to have a reaction to it. And it's a never ending onslaught. And look, like a lot of the time, we do live in very interesting times, and there is interesting stuff to speak about. But some of that stuff is just not the daily stuff that we cover all the time. Comments and tweets and I don't know, even things like it's obviously news if there are people on Capitol Hill who are contemplating government shutdown, but like is is there ever a year where there's not someone contemplating a government shutdown? Is there ever a year where that's not a politically contentious thing? There's not some sort of partisan effort to win something. Like I was trying to listen today, and that's one of the big things that was talked about was like, oh, well, you know, it's it's no one likes a government shutdown, so it's bad strategy if they do that. And it's like I've seen this rodeo before. Like they say, oh, well, we won't cooperate, we'll shut down the government, give them a little something, and then it's all negotiation. But because we're trying to fill a 24-hour news day, and we have daily shows, daily podcasts that have to be they have to have something to talk about. You end up with just a lot of nonsense, a lot of overreaction to things that not only would you not overreact to under normal circumstances, but you wouldn't even think to react to because it's would just seem silly. You wouldn't think that something that would need your commentary. Um, and so The example of this that has been looming large in my mind because it has been the topic uh, du jour of the day is tariffs. Everything is about Trump and tariffs. Where is he going to put tariffs? Where is he not going to put tariffs? Is he going to use the tariffs as a negotiating tool? Is he just threatening tariffs because he thinks threatening tariffs will be helpful? Does he just like tariffs? Does he just think that they're a good strategy? And the answer to all of those questions is just maybe. They kind of have to wait and see. He might actually think tariffs are good economic policy. He might not think that they're strictly good economic policy. He might think that they're necessary from a national security standpoint, which there could be an argument for. They may do good things for the economy. They may do bad things for the economy. But the way that there has to be like a maximum, it's not just any reaction. It's like a maximum reaction to any any news. I left the chest outside. Any comment that he makes on that, and part of that is the the stocks, the stock market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average took a huge dump. It did this. It did that. And I always just feel like when I hear that, like, yeah. Sorry about that. That's something that the stock market tends to do. It's very reactive to basically conjecture. Um, it may go and take a big dump and go very far down one week, and it may come up again the next week. It may, um, I guess, it may do a lot of things, and it's not necessarily indicative of economic problems. It's not necessarily not indicative of economic problems, but it just seems very silly to me. It's kind of like running around chasing our tails because, well, we we have to um, react to everything that's been said. We have to react to the reactions of things that have been said. You have to generate content instead of, and like there's plenty to talk about. I think that's the thing that bugs me the most. Is, like, we do live in a day and age where there is plenty to talk about, plenty to think about, plenty to reflect on. But the the overreaction to the day today political of it is not where it's at. I really do feel like the point of tracking the day to day political is to use that to think about it and to, I mean, maybe comment on it directly every now and then. More importantly, it's to respond to it in light of the larger meaning that it represents. So, what am I doing? Um, the larger meaning that it represents. Like, so Trump is talking about tariffs. And you can look at that and think, well, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? You know, I don't know. You don't know. Or you can look at it and you can say to yourself, well, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing or just a thing, as it might be. It might be actually much better to just kind of wait on it, wait and see what comes of this. Like, it might end up being very successful as a strategy to convince other countries to do things that are in America's best interest, which, as an American, I'm kind of interested in having other countries do things that are in my best interest. This is just going to bring me up. Um, but it also might not. We just don't know. And I think that we really need to just give these things a little bit of time to play out. Not everything is going to be clear the moment that it happens. And, uh, in the commentary game, you kind of like win points for predicting something. But predicting something is not even necessarily something that's very helpful. If you throw out a lot of predictions, you will eventually be right about some of them. You may be right about a lot of them, but why is that brick? Why does that feel like it's a very, very evil place? Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. Is that an evil armored skeleton coming at me? I don't want that. I just want to go and humbly mine for iron, please. Please. Yeah, why is he glowing? Onward we go. Oh, I should actually be here. I hate killing sheep, though. I feel so evil. I'm very sorry. Terribly, terribly sorry. Ooh, onions. I know killing things gets you points in Minecraft. I just don't like to do it. I feel so bad. um, what was I saying? But I feel like, yeah, the point is not so much to comment on every little thing or to throw out 100 predictions that you're right about something, but rather to focus on, okay, I'm headed the right direction. To focus on, like, how does that play into the bigger picture? This is a gamble, and it's a gamble that the American people took, I think, because I think the evaluation was simply like, well, what's currently happening is not working so well for us. So, what can we do different that would mean something? And this is a different approach to economics than, oh, this lag is terrible. This is a different approach to economics than the one that's been taken by the sort of uh, the State Department blob, the post World War II global order, which made sense to a certain extent in a post World War II world where America was not only the global hegemon, but it was the single protector of Western values against a aggressive and growing Soviet Union. It was very valuable for that reason for us to help rebuild Europe. I don't remember how to make a sleeping bag. And we basically had no competition for. I'm gonna have to just look this up. No, I'm not. There it is. We had no competition for trade and manufacturing in the Western world. It was, we were the only Western country left not under Soviet subjugation and not destroyed by the war, which allowed us to do a lot of things. It allowed us to have very high tax rates. It allowed us to um, spend enormously to create social welfare programs that would take care of people because there was so much excess money to go around. But we live in a very different world order now. A lot of our manufacturing has been offshore, and I think there's a fairly strong. That's so far away. Why would you even bother telling me that? There's a very a lot of our manufacturing has been offshored, and there's a very good case to make that we are um, we are weaker in from a national security standpoint because of that. I think it's almost in a case it's impossible not to make that is certainly a detriment to our national security. And so there's that to consider. There's also, what is that? Oh, it's one of those milk things. Um, there's also the idea that we, as a country, have a lot of economic competition. A lot of our allies in the Western world put a lot of protective tariffs on their goods, and you could argue, well, then their citizens end up paying higher prices for things. That's not good for their citizens. And no, it's not. And it would probably be better if we all just didn't tariff each other's goods, but it hardly seems fair to have American producers of goods at a distinct disadvantage because we refuse to. Are those raccoons? We refuse to retaliate against. I don't like the noises those things are making. Against tariffs placed on us by other countries, even if we're allies with them. And then I feel like there's definitely the negative case, the reverse case, which is that, you know, we don't want to limit our economic growth by artificially increasing the price of goods through taxes on imports because we do import so many things. But that seems like, I guess it seems to me like taking that view as a reason that we should never use tariffs because they would temporarily increase the price of consumer goods feels like saying you don't want to fix the problem because the fix to the problem might be painful. And the fix to the problem might be very painful. I might not. I just certainly will not enjoy it if things suddenly get much more expensive. But if things get more expensive for a while and then trade frees up and suddenly I can buy things that are manufactured in the United States and I can trust the quality of them more than I can now. I think that's a very valuable thing. And like talking about tariffs too also raises the question of like, well, what is quality of life? Like economics is not just GDP, it's also what is the quality of life of the citizens of the country, and is the quality of life um, a a distinct thing? Is it just, you know, the economic production? Or, as I would argue, it it can be many things, but it's certainly um, is not exclusively the um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Um, Quality of life is not exclusively about how many things can a person buy, but are those quality things? Do they have social institutions? Do they have, you know, we offshored a lot of manufacturing to China, and you might say, well, that was inevitable. But was it inevitable? Should we have opened up to China? Should we have allowed people to work at basically um, far, far cheaper wages we would call inhumane in the United States to produce goods in unregulated environments where there's um, environmental damage we wouldn't allow in the United States, so that we can have cheaper Nike shoes and cheaper iPhones, and like it's a lot of cheap stuff, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing for us to have that stuff in the long run. And I guess I feel like that often gets lost because even like a long view in politics is, well, we'll think all the way through the presidency to the end of the next 4 years. And I think a lot of our problems societally are caused by just this like now, now, now focus. We got to talk about the next topic in the news. We got to talk about the next topic that's happening in politics and business and the world order. And then, you have boards of businesses that are always aiming for, well, we want to have a good quarter. We have our quarterly shareholder meeting, our quarterly um, this or that. They never want to see the stock price go down a little bit. And I just had another example. It's just on the tip of my tongue. I'll think of it in a second. But it's there's a lot of examples of this in our life. Like, we want the cheaper thing right now, and we're not thinking about the consequence 30, 40, 50 years down the line in the future. What does this mean for us as a civilization? What does this mean for us um, in for our children and for our children's children? As part of our debt issue is that we're we're willing to incur debts right now for short-term advantage that will have to be paid by our children and our grandchildren. And that's not a great way, obviously, to plan out one's life. So I just feel like the 24-hour news cycle is a microcosm of this, where like we want to talk about the little thing and little thing and little thing. And we do that at the expense of seeing the bigger picture. And so much of our life is lived like that right now, where we talk about we set plans that are good in the short term that will full well that will win public favor, that are um, seem beneficial right away, and we do that at the expense of our own futures. I think that that's something that warrants more thought, and I wish I had a solution for that. I obviously, you know, the solution on the individual level is simply to continue. Why are there so many monsters down there? I don't like that. On an individual level is simply stop. Do not live your life that way. Delay gratification. Search for. Oh, I see. I have too much stuff. Okay, there are the rice grains. But obviously, you know, don't spend your time seeking instant gratification and instead spend your time searching for uh, pathways that will set you up for future success and will guide you in the long term view of your life. But at a societal level, I'm not quite sure what solution we should propose for this issue because it feels like how do you get out of a cycle like this? Our Congress people are elected for 2-year terms. Our Congress people actually spend far more time running around trying to fundraise, trying to get reelected, trying to set up their reelection campaign than they do actually reading bills, negotiating things on the House floor. It's the reason that all of the clips that you see from the workings of the House of Representatives all have that feeling like they're just saying these things so that it can be clipped for campaign videos because that's exactly what they're doing because they have no time to do virtually anything else. They almost exclusively do that, which is really tragic. And we've got to find a way out of it. But when our leaders are held accountable by these short-term goals, these short-term needs, I don't understand how we break that cycle because we want them to be uh, kind of we don't want to say, oh well, you're in there for 20 years, you know, which would let them take the long view of things, but then they wouldn't be accountable to their constituents anymore. So it's a tricky problem with a difficult balance for sure. But that is pretty much all I have. I guess I'm not quite accomplishing all the things I thought I would try to accomplish in Minecraft today. But all the same, we're still getting some stuff done. I'll get these seeds planted. There we go. I'm planting seeds, planning for the future, even though I have this weird eternal state that I can apparently eat forever. Then that's the wrap up for today. Is I just been trying to spend a lot of time thinking about what it means to forget I had an iron pickaxe, so I can actually do this. Um, what it means to live not in the immediate news and not live in the immediate gratification cycle, but to actually be future thinking and patient with the developments in life too. I think that's another element of this is learning to be patient because problems that took 50 years to get this bad obviously generally don't fix themselves overnight. And that's something that is difficult to accept and important to remember, I think. Very, you know, I don't like to be patient as much as the next person, but it does. It does take patience to see real substantial change come around, and sometimes it's painful. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we're probably not reaching fiscal responsibility as a country without some sort of austerity measures that uh, no one is going to like. So, but the good news is that there are solutions to these problems. There are ways to fix them, and I think we are taking steps in that direction as a country. And I hope that they're not the only steps that we are going to take. But we shall see. That's the theme. We shall see. We don't know yet, but we will learn one way or the other in the coming days. So until next time, adios.